Songs and Sit-Downs, featuring Owen Dara. And now, Owen Dara.
Good evening and welcome to Songs and Sit-Downs. Thank you so much for joining us on this, our 16th show of the series. As those of you who live in this part of the world already know, it's been a scorching few days here in Southern California, so I'm sure we're all grateful for the air conditioning, and some people might even say thank God for the air conditioning, but I'm not sure if we should really get God involved in this case because, as I'm sure you've heard, whenever a door closes, God opens a window, and who the hell needs that in this kind of weather? It's been kind of crazy. Well, tonight also happens to be the opening of the Democratic National Convention, and as important as that is, we're very glad that you're here with us at Songs and Sit-Downs instead. Unless you're Joe Biden. Because if you're Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is tuned in right now, watching Songs and Sit-Downs live on YouTube or on Facebook, just as the DNC is kicking off, then the world, many of us hope to know, is pretty much over. So Joe, if you're watching, while we do appreciate your support on this program, please just put the phone away, go out there and do your thing. And don't worry, you can watch us on a rerun later tonight or tomorrow. You know, we'll send you a link. In fact, if you really do a good job over the next few months, we're prepared to do a show for you next year live in the Oval Office. That's the Songs and Sit-Downs guarantee. By the way, if there's anyone currently tuned in who's thinking of watching the DNC instead, just to let you know, there's really nothing interesting happening just yet. All the good speeches are scheduled for later in the week, so please do stay with us on Songs and Sit-Downs. Except for you, Joe Biden. Just close the laptop and go save the friggin' world. Please. But everyone else, trust me, you're better off staying exactly where you are because it's going to be a fantastic show tonight. And before we go any further with said show, we should say a quick hello to some of the people who work hard behind the scenes to make this show as fantastic as it's going to be tonight, sweating in their home studio over there in Van Nuys. Let's say a quick hi to our fearless leaders, Dolly and JJ, who are always working so hard. And hey, there you are.
I think is that the fastest we've come on screen? Did we leave you waiting long is what I'm saying?
Can you say that again, Dolly? I'm just turning my speaker up so I can hear you. Yep.
I said, did we leave you waiting too long?
No.
Is that the fastest we showed up on screen? So.
Oh. You always leave me waiting long. It's pretty funny. And then I'm always like, oh God, no, they're not going to come. And they've left and I'm doing the show all by myself, which I hope isn't the case with Joe Biden or Kamala Harris right at this point, right?
We would never do that to you.
No, I know. So anyway, guys, we'll get quickly to the announcement. We've great guests lined up tonight, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But so, what's going on, my friends?
Well, other than, our usual stuff and playing with the puppy.
Okay.
Well, we would, as usual, we would actually like to remind everybody that it would be very helpful if any and all would subscribe to our YouTube channels. Mm-hmm. Both Owen Dara's. So I'm going to put them on screen. And I will also put them in the comments. And that way to help make it as easy as possible. Because once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we can start monetizing on this project.
And we won't have to ask. We won't have to ask for tips. So that's yes, right. If you don't mind going to youtube.com/DivineRebelMusic, youtube.com/Owen Dara, subscribe to those. We would very much appreciate it, and it will help us towards our goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers, in which case YouTube will hopefully be paying us for putting on this show.
That's right. And so I'll go ahead and post it now. And again, every single subscription helps. Every single one.
Yes, it does. Thank you. And of course, we should also mention the tips. We created this show, Songs and Sit-Downs, in part as a means to fill the deficit created by the lack of live work available to artists as a result of COVID, of course. And as most of you know by now, we have a very hard-working team who also happen to be artists. themselves adversely affected by the ongoing closure of music venues. And, you're looking at them all right now, pretty much. And as I always say, we appreciate your being here. But if you so choose and you have the means, old tips are appreciated, and they support our musical guest also and
They
our
do.
hardworking team. And if tipping is not within your means, of course, that's fine too. We're just more than happy to have you with us. And we thank you for tuning in. And we thank you, Dolly and JJ, for all your hard work.
Thank you.
You're
We'll see you
welcome.
guys soon.
Okay.
See you soon. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Bye-bye.
always working hard, pushing the envelope, Dolly and JJ, creating virtual venues for musicians. And we all very much appreciate that. We should talk a little bit about the upcoming shows, live shows that are happening around Los Angeles. Let me just take a look at that. See, those of you who've seen the show before and you've tuned in, you know what's coming. So I'm saying this kind of tongue in cheek because as this is our 16th show, we've done the same joke. This is the 16th time. There are no shows happening in and around Los Angeles and beyond. Um, and we said we would do that joke. We would do that joke in the beginning because we thought, oh, this will only last a couple of weeks and it'll be funny for a couple of weeks. But now it's 16 weeks, and I know it's not that funny anymore. But we'll just keep doing it. We also want to mention a sponsor that we picked up a few weeks ago called Irish Arts and Entertainment, and they've actually been helping us by promoting our show and sharing it on its network. Information about it and about what we're doing at Songs and Sit Downs, and they're offering our viewers a reduced rate subscription and other benefits for just $20 a year, which is actually a really good deal, and only $12 if you're a student and senior. And coming up on your screen there is that information, and also how to contact them, how to become a subscriber. And, we thank them very much for their ongoing support of Songs and Sit Downs. And of course, we thank you guys for tuning in, subscribing to our YouTube channels if you can, and we really do appreciate it. And I think you'll be glad that you tune in because we have some fantastic guests joining us in tonight's show. In just a little while, we're going all the way to Long Beach, California. We're going to meet with Lionel Pasamonte. He's a very interesting gentleman with many years of experience in the entertainment industry as both a producer and a director. He's also an all-round good guy and just lots of fun to have a chat with. And you're going to witness that firsthand very shortly. And after that, we'll be moving to another part of the Los Angeles area, to meet with our featured musical artist, Pat Nason, a wonderful singer-songwriter who has performed at a number of Divine Rebel music events as well as other events around town, and who is just a favorite live performer amongst many of his peers. And I've seen that firsthand, and I have that same feeling myself, if I can call myself one of his peers. He's had a long and varied career, not just as a musician, but also as an entertainment journalist. And he's going to be joining us for a chat and to perform some of his music live right here on Songs and Sit Downs. And I promise you that he, as well as our first guest, Lionel Pasamonte, is well worth hanging around for. So do please stay with us for that. But first, we're going to go to our weekly segment that we play every single week. This is the 16th time that this has happened, and it's written and presented by the always positive, always entertaining Jessica Lancaster. But unlike my joke about the gigs that are not coming up, it's actually varied and different and very funny and entertaining every single week. She brings us the good news stories every week, and the kind of stories that always make us smile, and who couldn't use more of that, right? Especially in these times. So, without further ado, here is On the Upside with Jessica Lancaster.
Happy Monday, everyone.
Oh, it's actually me. So, we've had a slight technical issue there. And here I was reading the comments. I was intently looking at saying, okay, now what happens after this? And then I looked and there was my face, and I was like, oh, well, I'm going to try to make you smile. Okay, so some of the stories that we've had, there was a little issue with the sound. I'm just getting a comment right here. So what we're going to do is, and I hope Lionel is, I hope he's okay with this. We're actually going to move to our special guest, our person of interest, and boy, is he a person of interest. And then we're actually going to come back to Songs and Sit Downs with Jessica. So it's a slightly different format this week, but as you know, occasionally we hit our we had technical issues, and this just happens to be one of those evenings. So let's move to our first guest of the evening, Lionel Pasamonte, who has worked for over 25 years in television and live production. He has for over 20 years been a member of the Directors Guild of America, and he has directed numerous multi-camera variety and sports events for MTV, Fox, DreamWorks, Microsoft, ASCAP, NARAS, and Billboard, among others. He's also worked extensively as a producer and has served as the executive producer of Mondos, that's the NBC Telemundo-owned Latino music channel, and his time as an EP for that organization was during its rebranding and its launch. Wow. And prior to relaunching the National Music Channel, Lionel spent 2 years as executive in charge of production of LATV, the Latino Music and Lifestyle Television channel, as he guided the network through its studio build-out, production development, and national cable launch. He also directed and produced programming for the Norris Grammy Celebration, Rehearsals.com, AOL's Dave Matthews Band's Central Park concert telecast, and he continues to work with ESPN, DirecTV, YouTube, MTV Networks, and MTV Latin America. He's currently consulting producer for MTV Latino America Network's MTV Video Awards and Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. And with all that going on in his life, we're absolutely delighted that he's taken the time to meet with us tonight here on Songs and Sit Downs. Please welcome Lionel Pasamonte.
Was that me? Am I on?
Hey, Lionel. Hey, sorry to have that baptism of fire there suddenly, because we said, oh, no, you have time, you can relax. Luckily you didn't go for a stroll down the beach as we were planning to play that other segment. How are you?
Yeah. I'm well, thank you. Good to hear your voice again, Owen.
Yes, it's really good to hear you, Lionel. And of course, we go back a long way. I mean, we're delighted to have you on Songs and Sit Downs, but of course, it's an added bonus that I actually knew you very early on in your career, when you were in Osaka, Japan, and I was also there. We came across each other. So I want to say back then, I think we were both in our 20s, which is probably about 5 years ago?
7.
7 years ago, yeah. So we've it feels like a little longer than that. And just to start with Osaka, because I mean, you were doing all that before you started making waves here in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Your first foray into that whole world was producing bars. Is that right?
Yeah. I was fortunate enough. I had 2 bars and a nightclub under my belt by the time I left. It was really great. And you're not allowed to really own there in Japan, but you can produce. So you find an owner who owns a bar, and then you collaborate with them. You become the shop's producer, and you just create your own bar. And so the last one I had was a blues bar, which took over Osaka by fire. It was great.
Yeah, that's right. I remember, and actually some of the bars and clubs that you created, I was able to actually do gigs at. So you laid the groundwork for people like me who turned up with a guitar saying, well, where can I play? And suddenly, because you found a need for music in that place, right?
Yeah, so it was easy because one of my roommates was a busker, and I don't know if you know what a busker is, but someone who plays for money on the street.
Yeah.
And we found that there's so many great talent out there that we just decided, well, let's create a band, number one, which is DZB, and then but also pull other singer-songwriters in and gave them a place, gave them a stage to play on. They made money, we made money because everyone came to watch them, and it was a good thing.
Yeah, and it surprised me actually when I arrived in Osaka how vibrant the music scene was, and you were a big part of creating that because you saw the need, and I guess you arrived a couple of years before I did, and you laid the groundwork, so thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, I arrived there in 90, and I left in 96, so it was great. It was a good time.
Yeah, I actually remember when you left, you actually passed on one of your jobs to me as a DJ, which you actually gave me my start as a DJ, which was cool. Now, this is Southside Blues. That's one of the bars that you produced there, and that became a really popular music venue.
It was. The Southside Blues was unique because, first of all, we created a basement New Orleans-style blues bar that Osaka had never heard before. But every one of my employees were musicians, so at any point in time, anybody can come in, grab an employee, 2 or 3, and jam.
Wow.
And the best part about it, we were so close to 2 live houses, a 4,000-seater and a 1,500-seater. So the bands that would perform in Osaka would come and play our stage, like the Cranberries. And not necessarily the principals, but most of the backing bands. We had Stevie Salas and Bernard Fowler who were on tour. We had some of the Rod Stewart's band come through. We had, like you mentioned, the Cranberries, No Doubt came through. So they were
Yeah.
playing in Osaka and then come over and play in our nightclub as well afterwards. It's cool.
Wow, it's amazing. And of course, you were in the music scene because you were a DJ for like something like three years for a Kyoto radio station.
Yeah. Yeah. Alpha Station, FM Kyoto, Hachikyu Tenyon, or
Yeah, I
89.4.
actually remember listening to you. I would hear you. I think I even heard you before I met you, and somebody pointed you out and said, "Oh, that's Max from the DJ." Because of course your name is Lionel, but we should explain why you chose not to use the name Lionel. Can you give us like a rough
Yeah.
pronunciation of how it was perceived over there?
Yeah, if you know, in the Japanese language, there are very few letters that help symbolize the L for
Hmm.
Lionel. So if you had to pronounce it, it'd be rhyme roll, rhyme rule, rhyme roll. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I went by my middle name, Maximilian. So it's Max Quixote in Kyoto. Kyoto. So my DJ name was Max Quixote, like
yeah,
Don Quixote, Max Quixote.
yeah, yeah.
And then in Kyoto. So it's Quixote in Kyoto was the cool.
Wow. Well, I
Yeah.
know you were very popular, and I do appreciate you throwing me a bone. And I had never DJ'd before, so your trust in me was very welcomed. But it's a lot harder than people might think. I couldn't believe how difficult it is, especially if you're changing the discs yourself. Like in those days, you're working with CDs, and then it comes up quickly, and you're like, "What the?" Now I have to
Yeah.
talk and play the music at the same time. Did you find that very difficult to master?
When I started, yeah, when we started was Banana FM, which was we did everything ourselves. And then when I
Yeah,
moved over to Kyoto FM, I had a producer and a director and a song compiler. So
yeah.
we were Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. It was drive time. So
Wow.
basically, we took requests, we talked on the phone. My Japanese was horrible, but my partner's English was horrible, and together we met somewhere in the middle, and we were spot on. Great ratings.
Wow, that's wonderful. I never made it to the level of having a producer actually change the CDs for me. But and
Yeah.
and interesting then, like I remember when you left, and then you were still doing a show from LA that we would
Right.
hear on the radio in Japan called Max on Melrose.
Right.
How
Right.
long did that go for?
About a year and a half. So the
Hmm.
producers of the radio station actually said, if you could continue for a 1 hour show and tell us everything that's going on in Hollywood or on Melrose that we
Yeah.
could put into Japan, people traveling, it would help us out. And they paid me for a 1 hour show once a week called Max on Melrose.
Wow, that's amazing. I do remember actually hearing that show, and I also remember thinking, well, I'll never get past on that gig because Owen on Melrose, it's just not as alliterative.
Owen and Oxnard, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that would have been better. I would have been in the wrong. I would have been a little further up the coast. So now all that producing that you did there with the bars you opened, and I mean, some
Yeah.
of those bars are actually still going, right?
Yep, yeah. Southside Blues is up there. No, actually, that one closed down, but something else jumped in its place. And some
Yeah,
of the other bars were the underground.
yeah,
People are still there, but now I think it's a Paul English bar. But yeah, I mean, it's been 20 years, 20 plus years, you
yeah.
know.
Well,
So, but
we
we,
were teenagers back then, so it must
yeah.
must be 20 years. But so how then did that help you as a producer here in Hollywood? So
Oh
that's those
man,
skills that you
crazy.
learned over there.
Yeah. So when I was leaving, had done some on-camera video work. I was a head of the Osaka Top Tens with MTV, and MTV wasn't part of the MTV network, so it was a franchise. So I
Yeah.
would do the once a week Osaka Top 10 live video. In fact, in Dotoboy Bridge, I had my face up there on the
Oh,
screen.
yeah.
And that helped me out. So when I came back here to California, I tried to be a VJ for MTV. I was too old.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to be a VJ for VH1. I was too young.
Uh-huh.
And I just kind of got into the talent department. So that's how I became a stage manager and director, is because I became part of the MTV fabric, helping out in the talent department, talent coordinating, talent logistics.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just met enough people, and I got accepted to the Directors Guild as a stage manager, and I worked
Wow.
my way through AD, and I still do some stage managing for the bigger events, like the big award shows, but
Mm-hmm.
also multi-camera directing, and I also do stay on camera AD as well with assistant director. Kind of
Wow.
fun.
So yeah, that keeps you busy. And I think when I first came across you in LA, when I moved here, you were working with Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Right.
That must have been a lot of fun.
That was my first Directors Guild award show, and I worked with. And honestly, I don't know if you know, but Wayne Brady
Yeah.
was in Japan when we were there, and he was part of a rhythm and blues kind of cool soul group that would play on the weekends.
Oh,
So
wow.
when I was working with Drew, and I was his stage manager, I would talk to Wayne and we had so much in common, and it was just wonderful. So I really could have that Japanese connect working through.
Yeah, he's you know, like I've met him too. He's just such a huge talent. Oh, there he is.
It is.
He's such a huge talent and a lovely guy. If I had known that he had spent that time in Japan, I would have brought it up when the time I came
Yeah.
across him. Um, but now also, speaking of Japan, you were involved in the community, so not just, I mean, you were there like about 5 years, right?
Yeah, yeah, a little over
So
5. Yeah.
and so you were involved in not only creating the bars, but you were actually doing things for the community, such as AIDS education.
Well, yeah. So at that time, there's a lot of proactive social impact going on, and we
Mm-hmm.
used music, and we got all these bars, the foreigner bars together, and we
Yep.
created, Live Aid,
Yep.
the Japanese version,
Yep.
and other concerts where we just kept having concerts, having a great time, raising money and awareness, and the government loved us because we were really hitting a different vein of people out there, a lot of foreigners, a lot of transient gaijin, as we say.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a great time, and we were able to showcase not only the bars and nightclubs we were together with, but also our own friends that were performers. And there was some really great talent busting through. It's some really good bands.
Yeah, wow, and such a good thing to be involved in, and of course the education there at that time, not just there, but in many parts of the world, was really lacking. Um,
Yeah.
Now, here's something that you might not know that I know, but I have heard that you have become the heartbreak guy here in Hollywood.
Oh,
Is there
oh.
some truth in this, or the break some hearts guy? Can
Yeah.
you explain this to
So,
me a little? Because I know you're happily married, so I hope you're not out there breaking hearts all the time.
well, no. So, in one of my jobs, when I work with talent, I'm the last person they see before they go on stage. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes they're very nervous, and sometimes they're going to kill it. They know it. But since I'm the last person, I've had this old adage. We know the story of break a leg. I hope you break a
Yes.
leg. And if you know what break a leg means, it means that once you break, in old vaudevillian terms, when you break the leg or the drape that hangs, that means you were on stage. You would get paid for performing that night. So
Ah,
everyone say, I hope you break a leg. It's the leg of a fabric or the wing on a stage. So if you break the leg, which you go on stage, you get paid for it. That's
yeah.
why everyone says break a leg, right? So
Ah,
I
I
always
did not
said,
know
I
that.
said,
Yeah,
there you go.
thank you.
So about 15 years ago, I started telling people, hey man, break a leg and break some hearts out there. They're like, break some hearts. I'm like, basically, go out there, give 110%, make the audience fall in love with you, and then when you come back, you're gonna break their heart, man, because they're gonna miss you the moment you leave the stage. So people are like, okay, and I've been saying it. So I've said it to when I worked on George Lopez. George Lopez,
Yeah.
every time he went out on the stage, Queen Latifah,
Mm-hmm.
I was working with her. Jane Lynch now, who I do Hollywood Game Night with. Every time I
Yeah.
see her, what would he say? She was breaking a leg. Snoop Dogg and Martha. Martha has a little issue with it sometimes. She makes fun of me, but Snoop just like, what is? Give it to me. Give it to me. Break a leg, and he goes, break some hearts, Matthew. Break some hearts, Matthew.
Yeah,
Um,
you know what's great,
yeah,
it'll become a thing of superstition in years to come that they won't actually be able to go out on stage unless somebody tells them to go break some hearts. And you know that there's an episode of The Talk, and I'm sure there's multiple, but one that I saw this video where one of the hosts come out, and of course my ears prick because I've known you for a long time, and I
right.
know that you work in that area. Well, she came out and she said, she sat down and said, "Oh yeah, Lionel backstage just told me to break some hearts," and I thought, "That's you." So
Yeah,
but she came out and she actually said it to the live audience on
yeah,
TV. Has that
yeah.
happened more than that time?
It has. It has a couple times, and a lot of times the producer like, what's going on back there? And I'm like, just
Yeah,
putting them in. I've also had a couple people look at me very strangely, like, why would you say that? Like, that's
yeah,
weird, man. I can name those people, but one great one. I was just working with Sting. I was over at Jimmy Kimmel working with her, and Sting was promoting his new stage play, his Broadway stage play that was playing here in
yeah.
Los Angeles Stadium. And I was talking to him. He's going up there. I said, "How's it going? Great. How you doing?" Hey, you know what? Break a leg, and because they hear it all the time, and it's like, and break some hearts. And he goes, "What? Break some." I like that. I can
Ah!
say that. Well, I'm like, hey, from coming from Sting, it was a blessing, right?
Oh
So
my God, absolutely. And well, you think about it too, like from what I've read of Sting too, he's losing a lot of his hearing, unfortunately. So the fact that he actually took it in and heard it and didn't misconstrue what you said. Now,
you're
speaking of
fine.
working with big musical acts, now
Right.
this is kind of incredible and also pertinent to what's going on right now because we hear a lot about the Sturgis Rock and Rev Music Festival because
Yeah.
this is what's been going on during COVID, and our attention has been drawn to it. But it goes back 10 years to the person who
Right.
first produced it. Now, are you responsible for that?
Yeah. Oh, I lost you at that. Did we just say, how was it? Yeah. Well,
No,
it was 10
so
years
you
ago.
you were actually the producer. You were the first producer of the Rock
Oh,
and Rev
yeah.
Music Festival.
Yeah. There was the CEOs and the other producers, but I was working with all the crews and all the not
Yeah,
so much a lot of the bands, but I mean it was 5 days. You
yeah.
know, we had Guns N' Roses, we had
Wow,
Godsmack, we had Creed, we had it was amazing. Oh, there's my boy Johnny D, John
wow,
D'Amico. He was great, and it was 5 days, 25 bands in 5 nights. You know,
wow.
we had campgrounds and everything. It was great. It was at that time it was just peaking, and I would
Hmm.
say it's the 70th anniversary. I think maybe the 70th anniversary. They're at 80 now, I think. But
Yeah.
it was great. And but I ran away with the circus. And we produced live DVD concerts. You know, I
Yeah.
did Russian Steel. You probably know I told you about that. We did Rage Against the Machine in
Hmm.
London.
Hmm.
That was a big one. We
Wow.
toured with Chicken Foot, which is Sammy Hagar, Joe Satriani, Chad
Hmm.
Smith and the Peppers, and Michael Anthony. So it was a great time at that. We were touring across country with all these bands, these rock bands, making DVDs before downloads, before the internet really took over.
Wow. And that must have been amazing. Now, how do you find it? I mean, I would assume in your youth, back when we were teenagers in Osaka. Oh,
Rage.
wow. So this is one of the concerts?
Yeah, so that was Rage at Finsbury Park. And it
Wow.
was a free concert because they won on a Facebook campaign the Christmas single and beat out Simon Cowell's band. And they
Uh-huh.
made a promise that if they would beat out Simon Cowell's band, they would play a free concert in Finsbury Park. It's for 80,000 people. There's a couple of
Wow.
shots in there. I'm sure you'll see the massive amount of people, and there's amazing. So
Wow. That's
yeah,
amazing. And to be up that close and to take on Simon Cowell, yay. Rock and roll,
yeah,
baby.
it was great. Good story. And we raised a lot of money for a lot of homeless shelters out there as well. That was the
Oh,
best
and
part.
that's always good. We want to talk a little bit more about the charities that you're involved in too in a moment. But I have to ask you, working with bands like being up front with like bands like Stone Temple Pilots and Alice in Chains and Dave Matthews and all of these great headliners. How do you find now, working in TV? So it's kind of nice and air conditioned, and you have the lights and all the sound is all thing, and it seems like there's a lot less can go wrong when you're working on live television because it's such a
Well,
machine.
yeah, it is a machine. I did a concert series for DirecTV called the DirecTV Concerts, where we'd put 2 or 3 bands in a day on,
Hmm.
which was nice. And we pretty much went through the entire gamut. But I cut my tooth in award shows,
Yeah.
where you put on 14 bands in 2 hours,
Wow.
and there's a lot of us working up there. So if you imagine 14 tours and 14 bands in one song, in and out, that's the machine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where I learned how production. And then when I went on tours at the same band over and over again, it's wonderful because it's easy. It really is.
Yeah.
TV, it gets a little. Oh, there's Katy Perry. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
in the MTV, the Latin VMAs. She took a swan dive into a birthday cake on the 50th anniversary of MTV's Latin Video Music Awards.
Oh, I love it. And
I,
you were right there.
I was right. Well, yeah. Her doing a swan dive in that cake. That's all buttercream all over her chest right there.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
And and so yeah, so when you're doing these shows and you're stage managing, now one of the things that I read some time ago, people post these rants or whatever, and some stage manager posted a rant about doing these concerts, and
Right.
basically what he or she was saying in this article was, look, if you turn up, I don't care who you are, I don't care if you're like the biggest rock star that ever lived, I don't care if you're Jesus. If the stage manager tells you where to be and at what time and where to go at what point, you do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. It's interesting because we move a band, we put them on stage, and it's live, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what you do. So a lot more times you need to talk to the manager or security guard, and all you got to do is walk. Well, that's the security guard said. You're walking them. I'll make sure they get there. I'll
Yeah.
be back in 6 minutes. No BS. Great.
Yeah.
And you look at him and say, okay, ready to go. She's not ready. That's okay.
Oh.
I told you. You told her. You got 5 minutes. You got
Right.
4 minutes. You
Yeah.
got 3 minutes. Hey, it's live. I've got 2 other bands behind you, my friend. I just hope you make it. Oh, here she is. let's go. We make it, and more often than not, everyone's cool because it's
Yeah.
live promotion. They like to, be out there, and they just want to do it. And I never really rush them in regards to you don't want to panic them. Never
Yeah.
panic an artist. But everyone around that team knows it's live. We got to go. There's been some close calls, some very close calls.
Yeah, and I guess you've skipped if they don't make it in time. You're like, okay, well the next band's right there behind you, and you put them on. That's actually a good way. I mean, you just took me back to a live TV appearance I did some years ago, and the stage manager said, they come and get you and they say 5 minutes, and then your heart is just pounding, 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 pounding. I wish somebody had told me to, break a leg and break some hearts to calm me down at that point. But
Yeah.
flashback right there. Now, also, I have to ask you this. I know you've worked for Disney, so the happiest place on earth, but it's not the happiest place on earth for everybody. Tell me a little bit about your experience at the Playboy Mansion.
You went from Disney to Playboy Mansion.
Well, some people would call that the happiest place on earth. So we'll skip over the Disney and we'll go. Oh, so that's you actually at the Playboy. That's with Ice-T, right?
That's right. So this is a long time ago. That was the launch of Spike TV. So the Playboy Mansion itself is used for all different parties. And
Yeah.
We've done a lot of charity events there, and oftentimes you're there for 2 or 3 days at a time. This happened to be from, Spike TV. It must have been 15 years ago. But I've done several charities events there. I've done some 3 or 4, overnights there. So it's always a fun time, and it is the cliche. It's the Playboy Mansion. There's the grotto. There's the bunny hutch. The bunny hutch is the little house outside of the Playboy Mansion where all the bunnies live.
Yeah.
And they just walk across the little road there and out the back door. So it's always a good time. And everyone's very professional. Always got their best A game going on. So, and they always are very welcoming. Very cool.
Well, that's great. It might be a theme tonight because our musical guest tonight, Pat Nason, also actually had a stint at the Playboy Mansion, interviewing Hugh Hefner. So we'll chat to him a little bit about that later on too. This photo actually, as you probably know, was taken by Jeff Kravitz, who was a guest on our show actually probably about 2 months ago. We had him on. Yeah, so you must know Jeff pretty well because I see a number of photos online that he's taken of you.
Yeah, so many.
Yeah.
We toured with MTV Europe once a year for about 9 years straight. A new city every year. And he and his wife was great. My wife came along a couple of times, and it's always a good time. And he's a big dude. He's a great photographer, and you always know where he's at. We see each other 5 or 6 times a year at the award shows and concerts. And I've been to his house several times for parties. He's a good guy. I love the guy.
Oh yeah, I can see how you guys can be friends. I could absolutely imagine you guys hanging out. So now I want to talk before we go, Lionel, and thank you for taking this time with us. By the way, I love the view in the background. That's actually not a green screen. That is your actual view, right?
That one, yeah. That's the city of Long Beach.
Wow, and that's great. And you got the beach right outside your window. I love it because a lot of people, they'll come on shows and then they'll have a green screen behind to make them look like they live somewhere cool. But you actually have the real deal. Wow, wow, very cool. So I wanted to. Oh wow, that is so cool. And this time of night to walk along the beach, I'm sure it's beautiful. But stay where you are for a moment because I want to talk about IMHP. So you're involved in that, the Institute of Maximum Human Potential. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, it's a human service. It's a family preservation services agency, and I got involved with them about 5 years ago. The person who got me involved was the LA Dodger named Todd Zeal. And how I met Todd Zeal was he had a son who had a band, and they opened up our rehearsals for George Lopez, and then I took them on the road with us to open up for Stone Temple Pilots. And then Todd says, if you can do this, can you help our charity out and create some events for us? So he had a group called the Los Angeles Institute of Film Education, and we married them together. So I would take kids and teach them how to stage manage, how to produce live events, how to really get their foot in the door. And that's where I got connected with them. And then that led to a board position. So I started managing coding classes, teaching Internet of Things, and really developing the programs for the kids, at-risk youth, in that agency. And that has led to the Center for Social Enterprise. We're teaching young entrepreneurs how to become nonprofits and get their foot in the door in small businesses. And then we also have the the Community Economic Development Corporation, CEDC, was all part of IMHP. But now we're buying land and building inclusionary housing.
Wow.
Emancipated youth, kids with intellectually challenged, like autism and Asperger's, that mature out of the system, but also they want to go ahead and live, and they want to be in assisted living. So we're building housing for them as well.
Wow. Such great causes, all of them. And, if people want to learn more about IMHP and I assume get involved or become a contributor or something, they can look at imhp.com. We should put that in the comments. .org. Yes, thank you. I was going to open up my own site, imhp.com, and just take all those contributions, but you've ruined it for me, Lionel. That is great. And of course, families experiencing social, emotional, economical issues, all of those things you guys help them with. And now also, I remember a long time ago, I met your son when he was very young, who you named Max. Now, he's following in your footsteps somewhat as an entrepreneur.
He is. He's just graduated university a couple of years ago, and he just launched his first sneaker, his first shoe.
Wow.
And that'll launch. It's on Instagram now. It's called shameless plug here, Masego Footwear, Masego, and they're kind of a groovy urban sneaker that's out there. So he's doing really well. And he also works on Texas as well.
Wow, that is fantastic. Well, Lionel, we've run out of time, my friend, but it's just such a joy chatting to you, and to just, to have seen over the years everything that has come your way. And is this what is that shirt? My eyes are failing me. Ah, from Japan. Yes.
That's where I met you. I met you at this place. This shirt is older than our relationship.
Wow.
You were a songwriter at a place called Tins Hall in Osaka.
Yes, that's right. And that's the Tins Hall shirt. I believe Tin, actually, the owner, gave me one of those in exchange. Well, for doing a gig one night, he might have been short on cash. He's like, here's a T-shirt. Because I remember he used to have these giveaways. And that was one of the places. I think I used to play there like every other Thursday night or something.
That's right. And we did improv together, too.
Yeah, that's right. We were in an improv group together. And you know what's funny? When you left and you passed one of your DJ gigs on to me, you also left, and your improv group actually was short one person, and so they invited me to join that too. So I think without you, Lionel, nothing ever would have happened in my life. Your existence is the thing that actually propelled me forward, at least in Osaka,
Right, and let's not even talk about how we reacquainted yourself in Hancock Park in someone else's house, and that's another story.
You should tell that story. Even though we've run out of time, why don't you? I mean, we could take a minute to tell that. That's a funny story.
So very quickly, I'm working at Whose Line Is Anyway, no problem, and I let people know that I was divorcing my first wife and I had a child, but I really wanted to see a place to live. So the wardrobe person says, I have a house I'm redoing in Hancock Park, excuse me, and do you want to live there while it's being redone? There's two other guys living there, and then they're just bachelors. So we live in a house for about 3 weeks, and I kept hearing this deep Irish voice. But you knew me as Max. So it's like, this guy named Lionel in the front part of the house. So about a week and a half later, there's this deep voice. I'm like, hey, I know you. I'm Lionel. I'm Max. I'm Owen. From Osaka, Japan to Hancock Park. And it was like 6 years later. Unbeknownst to me, you're living with me for 3 weeks in that back bedroom.
That was absolutely hilarious because they were renovating the house, and so none of us could really use the living room or anything. And so we were in our rooms, and I'd come in late at night from doing a gig or whatever. You'd be gone doing something else, and I'd be like, oh, there's some guy named Lionel that I've never met. And then we meet, and we're like, we're friends from Japan. What the hell is this?
Wow. That's how my son Max, right?
Yeah, and yes, and that's how I met your son Max. Yeah. So, well, anyway, give him my best, Lionel, or Max, as you're known as in the old country when I first met you. And we look forward to catching up with you again sometime soon. And
right, absolutely. Hey, have myself and Kravitz on. We'll have a gas.
Yeah, you know what? When all COVID is over, Dolly, JJ, because they're friends with Jeff Kravitz also. We'll all get together. We'll have a beer. We'll have a chat, and it's always great to see you, my friend. And congratulations on everything you've made happen for yourself over these years. It's just thank you so much, my friend. I will talk to you soon.
Fantastic. Bye-bye, man. Take care. Thank you.
You too, brother. Thank you. Wow, Lionel Pasamonte, what a great guy. So great chatting with him and learning about his varied and interesting journey in the entertainment industry and beyond, and for all that he's doing for charity. And wow, a mover and a shaker as he always was since I've known him many, many years ago, and just watched his burgeoning career and all the wonderful things that he's been doing over the years. If you want to know more about Lionel, you can check out his very impressive and ever evolving IMDb page. And we'd like to thank him again for taking the time to join us tonight. And now, before we meet our musical artist, we should again mention the tip jar. And as we always say, if you can afford it and you want to contribute, that's absolutely fine. If not, we're more than happy to have you just with us this evening. And as you probably know by now, the proceeds of the tip jar go to everyone involved in putting on the show, and also with our shared musical artist. Now, before we go to the musical artist, I should check if there is a possibility that we're going to show our weekly segment on the upside. And I think actually we're getting the go-ahead, because it would be a very sad night if on the 16th show we didn't get to show this, and we would actually have to miss it one time. And I've had a sneak preview of it, and it's actually a really great one this week, as it always is. Why don't we go right to it now? The positive news that makes us smile. This is On the Upside with Jessica Lancaster. Okay, and that was not On the Upside with Jessica Lancaster. At least that was part of it. Now, we're having some technical issues. Who knows? I think that's the first time that that's ever happened again. So it just happened. Somehow the sound wasn't coming through on that video. But I don't know about you, but it actually still made me smile seeing those images of elephants and other animals. And we think it's something to do with the StreamYard, which is the platform we're using right now. But you know what? It happens. Um, I think that's just a small glitch in what's been going on in the world. So we're not going to worry about it too much. And we're going to move on. Maybe towards the end of the show, we might get a chance to show you that. We're not sure. But I think we're just going to move on now. And we're going to welcome, we're going to introduce to you our fine musical artist that we have joining us tonight, Pat Nason. He's a Baltimore-born, LA-based musician and singer-songwriter who's been writing and performing for decades while also raising a family and working as a professional journalist. Following his retirement as an entertainment reporter and editor for United Press International, Pat released the EP Nearly New in 2014 and followed it up in 2015 with his first full-length CD, All the Time in the World. His new EP, Here and Now, was released in March 2020, and like all of Pat's work, it's refreshing, engaging, and entertaining, and in places, might I add, downright foreboding. You will see what I mean in just a moment, because before we bring Pat on screen, we have the honor of bringing you the world's very first sneak preview clip of the video that accompanies one of his songs from Pat's new EP. And a very excellent song it is, might I add, thought-provoking, moving, and foreshadowing of what I'm sure we all hope will never come. We're absolutely delighted to share this with you for the very first time. This is a clip from A Long Night Coming by Pat Nason. And it might be a long night coming, this song. Oh, here it is. Awesome. And wow, what an incredible sounding song that must have been for anybody who could have heard it. I've got to tell you, now we just saw the sneak preview of the very beginning of the video, and I have been fortunate enough to see a little bit of that video earlier today, and it is just fantastic. We only played a tiny little clip because without the sound it really doesn't have the same effect. Now who knows what's going on with the sound? But that was A Long Night Coming, which is eventually coming, but it is available on Pat's newly released EP called Here and Now. And I would recommend, not right now, but later this evening or possibly tomorrow, going to Pat's website and finding it. He's got all the links there on SoundCloud, but stay with us for now because we have Pat Nason coming with us. We're about to meet him, and he's going to play some live music for us now. And the hope is that we're going to be able to hear it. But if not, we still enjoy his company because he's just an awesome guy. He's a great singer-songwriter, full of wisdom, great personality, a wonderful guy all around. Please welcome Mr. Pat Nason.
Long night coming, dead ahead. How was that?
Oh, that was fantastic. We got a tiny snippet of the video and then we got a tiny snippet of the song, just not at the same time. We can put it together in our brains.
Hey, Owen.
Well, thank you so much, Pat. And I tell you, that song, even though our audience didn't hear it, and I don't want to give too much away for the first time that they do hear it, but wow, what a spin on the possible future that's coming. Can I ask you, because, you know, I know you and many audience members who've seen you live, known you as somebody who entertains us and makes us smile with these really uplifting songs, but then occasionally you sideswipe us with something like this. And so I want to know what was going on for you in order for you to be able to write a song that bodes so negatively, I guess, for our future.
Oh, and that song was a reaction to the Great Recession back in 2008, early 2009.
Wow.
And we were not just having a Great Recession, but we were also having all kinds of political malfeasance.
Yes.
And a lot of things that were going on that didn't look good for the future.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what that song was about.
Wow.
And it's not. I can't say that it's reassuring that the song resonates even more now than it did then.
Yes, I think so. I think its time has come. Like, it was inspired in 2008, but its time seems to have come right now. And, you know, the accompanying video, it doesn't pull any punches. There's no holds barred, basically, in what you're telling us in this song. It's very, very powerful.
It's very stark. And before we go another second, we need to mention that the video is directed, produced by J.J. Shock, our genial producer, co-producer here on Songs and Sit Downs, and he also produced the EP Here and Now.
Yeah. And of course, we know he's professional enough to actually add the song to the sound of the video, so it's definitely not JJ.
In a perfect world, yeah. But you know what? It's no sweat.
No,
you know,
no.
like,
What I
you,
mean,
you
Pat,
already
is,
made you already made the point a few minutes ago, talking to Lionel or talking about Jessica One. But
yeah,
you know, there's given what's going on in the world, these little technical problems like this is nothing.
yes, exactly. But no, I guess what I was saying is JJ putting the whole thing together. We know the sound is going to be impeccable
it's gonna
with
be
the
awesome.
thing. It's it's the software and the platform that's maltreating us right at this point. Which actually brings me to a word from your song. The demise and the maltreating and the planet of each other. One of the things that I got from the song on first listen was it's basically collectively coming down on us. But then there's a line in the song that made me sort of look into myself that was like, you will never run from the things you've done. So it's basically also a personal look inside ourselves for what's going on.
It's very personal and it's very general. It's very universal.
Right.
Every one of us is going to get carried off one day. Every single one of us. Beyond that, there was a time when humanity didn't exist, and I assure you, I'll bet you money I won't be able to collect, but I assure you there will become a time when humanity won't exist anymore.
Yes.
So that's where all this, the end is near, is coming. The only question is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is it next year? Maybe tomorrow, maybe next year. And sooner or later, we all hope it's later.
Yeah,
I don't want to be there when it happens.
I know.
But I have to be there when my end comes.
It wouldn't surprise me if you were a fan of George Carlin, because I know your sensibility and you've been in the entertainment industry a long time, but it's one of the things that he professes. He says, I'm not worried about the planet. The planet's going to be fine. All the people will disappear and the planet will just have lizards or whatever is next.
Yeah, and the planet will outlive us, and then billions upon billions upon billions of years further, the planet will die.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's no need to get upset about it. And I want to say this. Everybody's talking about what are you doing during COVID? What are you doing? The first 3 or 4 weeks I laid around too much because I was like, nothing's gonna. This is me. And it got through my thick head that the end is going to come of COVID. Nothing lasts forever. Not even the darkness. The end of COVID is going to come, and if I'm still around, there's a question I need to deal with, and that is, how am I going to come out of it? Am I going to strengthen my hand? Am I going to weaken my hand? Am I going to come out a little bit better? So the last 5, 6, 7 weeks, I've been using the time more productively, and I can't tell you how good it feels.
Great. And you've been productive, I guess, not only in music, but you're also a big proponent of voting, I see from your Facebook feed.
Yes.
And I guess you've been promoting November 3rd this year since what, about 1959 or something?
Well, I've been urging people to check your registration. There are people in this world who make it their business to purge people off of voter rolls.
Interesting.
Don't let them do it to you. Check your registration weekly, okay? It's easy to do. There's links. Go to my Facebook page or just Google voter registration check, and you'll find links that'll, you'll put in your zip code. They'll tell you whether you're registered. Stay on top of it. And by the way, Election Day is November 3rd, but Election Day is really now.
Yes.
If you don't know how to vote, you better make it your business to figure out how to do it, because so much has changed. Oh, we're going to have mail-in. No, we're not going to have mail-in. Oh, we're going to have in-person. No, but there's COVID. And now all the states are scrambling to try to keep up with how are we going to make this happen. And their rules change, their customs change, their procedures change. And you really need to stay on top of that so you can make sure that you don't lose your chance.
Well, what's interesting is one of the things that you say on another song in your EP, Here and Now, the song Say the Word, where you say, I may not have the answer or the cure, But in a sense, by doing your research, perhaps we do. I just wonder about that line, The Cure. Was that written pre-COVID?
That line was actually that line was written in the earliest dawn of COVID. We were all
Okay.
up at the songwriter, the Pacific Songwriters Camp, and that song was a project from that camp, and that was the third week of January this year. And
Oh,
people
wow.
were starting to talk about COVID. People were starting to
Yeah.
be aware that maybe we shouldn't shake hands. Let's go easy on the hugs. And
Wow.
the song was not a reaction to COVID. The song is
Okay.
the song is a project. I gave myself a prompt, and there was something I wanted to write about, and then I looked into it and thought about pain and how people cope with pain and what people do for each other. And I read the most interesting thing that sometimes in their pain, people don't want anything. They just want to be left alone. It's what they need, and it's what you need to give them. And you might want to give them a cup of tea, or you might want to give them a little shoulder rub or something like that. But if what they really need is for you to just slip out the side, then that's what
Yeah.
you got to do.
And I guess that's where you get the title, Say the Word, because it's like it's the person who's suffering is the person who has the power, as it should be, to
course.
either say, come this way or go that way, And then another song on the EP, and of course your reviews have been stellar, really throughout your recording process. But one of the ones as a beautiful love song, The Way You Let Me Love You. Now, this seems so real and so heartfelt and so true. Is this about your other half? And please
Absolutely.
say
Yes, it is.
yes. Good.
My kids got together a few years ago and bought me a trip to Austin. And
Yeah.
they put me up in a really nice hotel, and I got a chance to go around, and it was a big weekend. There was not South by Southwest, but some Americana music festival, and there was music all over the place, and it was really inspiring. And I had, how songwriters have a phrase floating around in their mind for months and months and months. Well, I had this phrase floating around in my mind about the power of a wish. I had seen a segment on 60 Minutes about the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and somebody talked about the power of a wish, and I said, oh, I got that. So while I was in Austin, I wanted to write a song, and I wanted to write a song for Kathy. And that's the song that came out. The Power of a Wish was the sort of first brick, and everything else kind of just flowed out from that.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's beautiful because it rings true of someone in love, the sunset, and you bring nature into it. And I know you guys have a great relationship, and it's wonderful that it can be expressed so positively in a song. Now, speaking of Texas, another song that's on your I believe on your EP is called, I believe, One Night in Texas. Was this inspired on that same trip?
Yes, it was. It was absolutely inspired on the same trip. I didn't have a specific idea for a song, but I wanted to write a song about Austin. And there was a street in Austin called Los Brazos. And I don't know why. Again, you just get these notions. This thing just kind of sticks to you like a burr, And so I thought, okay, Los Brazos. Well, it's a street. What am I going to do with that? Well, next thing you know, there's a guy walking down the street eating tacos with a spoon. So what do you...
That actually happened?
No, Los Brazos is a real street, but there was no
Okay.
guy walking down the street eating tacos with a spoon. The whole thing is nonsense.
Okay.
Yeah, none of it's based on. Yeah. In
Yeah,
fact,
because
there's a
that's what I
line in there
wonder.
that
I
says-
mean,
the line says the city sure looked pretty under that big old Texas moon. Honestly, I couldn't tell you whether there was a moon or not. I never looked up once.
because the image, it was so real and so outrageous. That's why I thought you must have made this up, but you must have some connection to Texas. Because I mean, you mentioned the Alamo, and the description of your lyric is so wonderful with the guy who I think he walks like Gary Cooper, and he's dressed like Daniel Boone, and I
Might
think
as well
like,
have been a hero in a Willie Nelson tune.
oh, that cracks me up, like a hero in a willingness. It just,
I'll tell you something.
it's-
Songwriters might acknowledge the truth of this. is. But that song right there is a little bit of a check the box. If you're writing a song about Texas, well, okay, you got to write about Willie. You know,
I see.
And a friend of mine who lives in Austin, I sent her the song, and she sent it back, and she said, "Man, you ticked every box. Daddy's private jet, rich girl."
Oh, that's amazing. Well, yeah, I mean it's so descriptive, and of course you have the Alamo too, where you go around the back of the Alamo with a woman, and then of course, which that just cracked me up, and it's a nice balance in your EP because you take us, with that first dark song. And then, of course, you lift us with all the others. Not that other one isn't uplifting, but it's somewhat foreboding. It's a nice variety. Now, one of your songs that you sang at the Roadhouse series some time ago, I think about being at the carnival and not being the right height. What's the name of that song?
That's called Gwyn Oak Amusement Park.
Glen Oak Amusement Park.
Gwyn,
that's right. In fact,
Gwynn. Gwyn.
Yeah, Gwyn Oak Amusement Park. Yeah, I remember hearing that song, and then I saw that there was actually somebody that's associated with the Roadhouse series that wants to cover that song. They actually asked you if they could do a cover and record your song.
Yeah, Fief Mooney.
And how does that feel for you as a songwriter? If somebody's saying, "Hey, I like that song so much, I actually want to record it."
Are you kidding me? It feels wonderful. It's the reason why I write songs is to just get it expressed. I want people to hear it, And if people hear it and like it, that's really good. That's even better. If they just listen for 2 minutes, I'm over the moon. That's a great gift when people listen to a song, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
my God, yes.
And if they like it, that's gravy. Yeah. And if they like it so much that they want to learn it and sing it, it's hard to top that feeling.
Yeah. Well, I figured when I heard that, I mean, I thought, the song of yours I want to cover is "Love in the Time of Senior Discount," but I want to wait just a few years.
Well, start learning it now, because if you wait too long, you might have trouble remembering it.
Oh man, I love it. And of course you have so many great songs. I'm not going to mention, I mean, there's Music, the Bottle and You, and there's just so many. And the first one I ever heard you perform live was Cooking in the Kitchen. I don't know the name of it, but was that what it was called?
That's called Crazy About the Gravy, and that was also written for Mahoney, for Kathy.
Yeah. Oh wow, she's a great muse and a great person, a wonderful inspiration, and I know a great supporter of yours, which is very important, right? In as an artist, of course. Well, Pat, we're going to talk much more to the chagrin of probably many people watching right now, but we have so much ground to cover. But I wonder first if you wouldn't mind, especially since we didn't get that opening clip, would you mind maybe singing us a few songs, and then we'll come back and we'll chat a little more?
I'd be delighted to play a few songs, sure.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Pat Nason.
So we were talking a moment ago about when people appreciate your music and how much it means. And I have a birthday notation to go out right now for somebody who was in the backyard at Cool House concert and showed so much appreciation for the music, bought both of my CDs at the time. And when you get that kind of reaction to the music, it keeps you going, So it's Samantha Kelsis's birthday. And I'm going to sing Happy Birthday by request. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Samantha. Happy birthday to you. There you go. So the first song I'm going to play for you is it's a love song. I have a lot of sort of happy, snappy, kind of sappy love songs, and this is one of them. I love to have my fun, and anyone that knows me well knows how I love to love and how I love to raise some hell. The high times have been many, I've got lots of tales to tell, but I won't forget the day we met, 'cause that's the day I fell. I was riding high and getting by, and everything was fine. Life was pretty simple, I had nothing on the line. Then you came along without a warning or a sign. I saw your face and then I lost my place, and then I lost this heart of mine. And now I'm falling in love with you. There's not a damn thing that I can do, but I love this feeling, and I hope you're falling too. I'm falling in love with you. And sometimes when I'm with you, I can't think of words to say. And when you leave, I find myself just wishing you would stay. It's not the kind of thing that happens to me every day. There's just one thing I know of that can make me feel this way. I must be falling in love with you, and there's not a damn thing that I can do, but I love this feeling, and I hope you're falling too. I'm falling in love with you. I'm falling in love with you. Now, if you like that song, it's on the CD All the Time in the World, and Houston Clower sings it on the record. And for a good time, dial that up. Houston on All the Time in the World singing Fallen in Love with You, with me and my former band, Pat Nason and the Regular Crew, who I dearly miss playing with. I'm going to play one that Dolly Ramirez did me the honor of singing this song a couple of times last year. I asked her to sing it because I just wanted to hear her sing it. And, I love the song so much. And I knew that she would tear it apart, and she did. But in the process of listening to Dolly sing it, I actually kind of learned a little bit more about how to sing it. And so this is a sad one. It's called I Don't Want to Think About It, and You Don't Want to Know. You ask me why I love you, and you wonder what would I do if the day should come when one of us must go. If the time should come that our love was gone, would I be able to hang on? Could I make it on my own if you just walked out the door? I don't know why you'd ask me such a question, bring up such a sad suggestion if you weren't already halfway down the road. You can ask me all you want to, and I will have no answer for you, 'cause I don't want to think about it, and you don't want to know. We once had a good thing. You once made my heart sing, but it feels like that was years and years ago. All the good times that we had before, we don't seem to have them anymore. Is this the final curtain at the end of our last show? I guess there ain't much use in us pretending this thing could have a happy ending. Let's just grab the check and pay up what we owe. Let's just cut our losses, don't count up the cost, 'cause I don't wanna think about it, and You don't want to know, I don't want to think about it. And you don't want to know. Well, one thing I have learned as I age is that I don't care how old you are, you never outgrow your urge to procreate. And Owen, this is one you're going to learn, so here, pay attention and I'll show you how you play it. I'm old, I'm out of shape, and I smell bad, but I'm yours. My teeth are brown and yellow, kind of like the color of my drawers. And I spent up all my money, I've been broke so long I'm used to being poor. I'm old, I'm out of shape, and I smell bad, but I'm yours. Years and years ago, we made a promise we would always be together. Our love was young and true, and we both knew that it was made to last forever. Now I'm tired all the time, and my hearing's shot, and all my joints are sore. I'm old, I'm out of shape, and I smell bad, but I'm yours. And you're getting up in years, and you're cranky, but you're mine. Every night you fall apart, and you're in bed and sound asleep by 9. But honey, I still love you, and I still want you, even after all this time. You're getting up in years, and but you're mine. And sometimes when you hold my hand and look into my eyes, it's just amazing. I still see that pretty girl who gave me love, and that's what I'm talking about. Oh, and you gotta watch your memory when you get older. I still see that pretty girl who took my heart and gave me love and drove me crazy. Now your body's gone to hell, it's just a lucky thing for us that love is blind. I'm old, I'm out of shape, and I smell terrible, but I'm yours. And we still have lots of fun, and we get the job done when we get behind closed doors. I'm old, I'm out of shape, and I smell terrible, but I'm yours. And that's on the EP Nearly New, if you can find it somewhere. But that's on the EP Nearly New, and you can find it at my website. But yeah, Owen, there you go, buddy. If that's the one you want to sing, don't use that for a template.
I do want to sing that. Oh, that was brilliant, Pat. Jess and I both are laughing, and she's there, and she's like, when you say like falling asleep and stuff, like, or and she's like, yeah, that's me. We do that stuff already, so we're in training.
Well, when I play that live. When I play that live, I always tell the younger people in the audience, this is what you have to look forward to.
Yeah, that's right. Don't think you're going to escape it, you know. It's funny, you know, Dolly wanted to ask me, I'm going to blame Dolly for this now, but I was curious too. How does Kathy feel about that particular song?
Oh, Kathy likes the song. She just wants me, she insists, and she makes sure that I always make a point of letting people know that it isn't the least bit autobiographical.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you a funny
neither
story.
of you are old or out of shape.
I'll tell you a funny story about that. I sent that song to a couple friends of mine up in the Bay Area. They've been married. They're going on 50 years. And George and Anna. And I sent them the song, and then George called me a couple of days later, And I said, well, how'd you guys like the song? And he said, man, oh man, I love that song. That's hilarious. That's me. And I said, what does Anna think of it? And he said, well, she likes the song, but she thinks it's me too, and she doesn't think that's a damn bit funny.
So she doesn't own up to any of it, but basically puts it on you. Well, what I like about that song is you do put it back on yourself. So there's that moment when you're like, oh, you're saying that about your other half, but then you bring it back on yourself so you get away with it, self-deprecating. Absolutely love it. So another question I have now, you talked about Pat Nason and the regular crew,
Yes.
your old band that you missed. Now, how long ago, you guys were together in 2014?
We were a project.
Yeah.
And we started in 2014, and then we made the record. The whole
Yeah.
idea behind the project was that Susan T. Bull and Houston Clower thought, especially Sue, they had this notion that we need to sing your songs. We need to. So they decided they'd sing. They brilliantly and wonderfully generously offered to sing some harmonies with me.
Yeah.
And then the late Ed Posick came right in at the very top, and he's the bass player, and he was like my musical guru for a little while. And we made this record, and Craig Shearer, who's also passed, he was a founding member of the band. He showed us a lot, and then he had some other stuff that he needed to work on. So the four of us went forward.
So
And we
did the
made the
sound
record.
engineer put a lot of echo on that album, because it's kind of carrying through even with the photo?
No, I don't think they had StreamYard in those days. They might have, I don't know.
Well,
But, and the Brian Allen Patterson, who's also passed, produced it in his studio over in North Hollywood, and I just love the way the record came out.
oh, it's fantastic. And hearing other singers too sing your songs and have you come in with harmony in the background, it's just phenomenal.
Oh, wait till you hear Susan T. Bull. Wait till you hear her sing "Twisted Little Things." If you
Yes,
haven't
I think I
already.
have. I think I have. Yeah, and no, I've listened to that album, and it's really good. People need to go to your website and just check out where they can find all of these things. 'Cause you have all of the albums there on there. You have your 2 EPs, and
then
you
the
have
new
that
the new
album.
EP. And speaking of bands, the new EP I have had, and hopefully I'd love for us to get back and play live again when the time comes. But
Yeah.
JJ's in the band and plays keys. He
Yep.
does a lot of musical arranging, and then David Fry plays guitars, and Brian Mertens plays bass, and Fish Olmos plays mandolin and ukulele. Robbie Wilson is on percussion, and Todd Zabo, when we're at full strength, we have Todd on drums. And thinking of Todd, there's a long list of reasons why we all can't wait to go out and play again. But for me, very close to the top is I want to see Todd live again. He's just killer live. I want to play with him.
I've seen Todd a number of times. I think he lives up in Altadena. I ran into him some years ago. Is it Todd? He does live in Altadena, right?
Yeah, Todd. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've come across him just from living locally here, just basically around the place. I haven't seen him in a number of years. But the next time when you guys get together and you have that literally hotshot band with that lineup,
Right.
that is going to be a great gig when you have your EP launch live with all those guys and JJ and everything. It'll be a big Divine Rebel music event.
You just
Now
gave me an
going
idea.
back,
Maybe we'll relaunch it. Yeah.
yeah, we look forward to that. Now, going back even further, we've dug up some archives on you of you playing in a band like way back in the day. And if we have that photo, we may risk putting it up and seeing if we have an echo. And if we have, we'll just have it for a moment, but it'd be great for people to see. You were in the WPOC guitar band. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I worked at WPOC Radio in Baltimore for almost 11 years. I was the morning newsman. And every year, Baltimore has, I don't know if they still have it, but they have a Baltimore City Fair, like a state fair, but a city fair. And they would they'd set it up down by the Inner Harbor, and neighborhoods would come in and have booths and promote their neighborhoods and what they're about and so forth. And businesses would promote. The radio station had a stage every year for the weekend playing country music. And I would put a band together with radio station personnel and a couple of ringers.
Yeah.
And and we'd play a set once a year at the city fair. So what you're seeing there, golly, Dave, that's it right in the middle there. That's Arnie Abramson on guitar. he just passed not that long
Oh.
ago, and he was a wonderful friend, and we played a million tons of music together. And then
Wow.
on the right side of the frame, that's a side view of me, and really all duded up with a jacket and a hat and everything.
Oh,
like that.
you're looking pretty slick there, Pat. I like it a lot. Now, speaking of radio, so you worked for a long time with UPI Radio, and we can talk about that. But I want to get to the crux of the matter. There was a gentleman. There you are, of course, doing that. And there was, of course, you met many people and interviewed many people through that. But there was a gentleman, I believe, and I want to hear the story from you because I've heard the story, but I'm not clear on all the facts. So it's one of those possible urban myths. So you met a gentleman outside the radio station that was in search of something. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I worked early morning. I got off at noon, and one day, spring of maybe 69, maybe 70, but right in there. I should look it up. Came out from my shift, and and my girlfriend was there to meet me, and we were going to go have lunch. And she was standing there on the sidewalk talking to this guy. And I said, "Hey, Nance," and she said, "Hey, this is Jack. He's an actor." And I said, "Oh, hello, nice to meet you." Well, he had just been at the radio station to do a promotional appearance for this new movie that was coming out called Easy Rider. And it was Jack Nicholson.
Wow.
So the three of us stood around,
Uh-huh.
just talk. I can't even remember anything we said. All I can remember is the way he was looking at Nancy. And in that moment, nobody needed to tell me this one's a killer.
Yeah. Yes.
Just the way, and I was immediately defensive and all that. But anyway, we chatted for a bit, and then he said, "Hey, do you think there's any way I could get stoned?" And,
Yeah.
and I said, "Well," and I didn't. Long story short, all I could get my hands on was seeds and stems and just dust, So we rolled the most pathetic joint you've ever seen in your whole life, and we
Probably goes down in history as his worst ever joint that you gave him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got nothing off of it. I can't imagine anybody. But he took us for a ride in his town car because they give you a car, when you go on promotional
very
tours.
cool.
And
Yeah.
he took us for a ride in the car, and we spent a couple hours together, just bopping around. And we got out at the Druid Hill Park, and we laid in the grass and looked at the sun, and just. I don't remember a single word that was spoken among us. I really don't. But I remember this. I remember a couple of months later, because in those days, movie release patterns were bizarre. A movie it would take a year to open a movie. So we went to see Easy Rider, and he was good.
Oh, he was amazing in that movie.
And as we were leaving the theater, we looked at each other and said, "Hey, our friend Jack, he's a pretty good actor, huh?"
Wow. So when you met him outside the radio station, you had no idea. It's just some guy named Jack who was an actor who wanted to get stoned.
All I knew
and then
is he was a
suddenly he's up on screen and he's like, because in that movie, I mean, if you remember that performance, he chews the scenery. I mean, you know.
What I remember is he doesn't show up for a long time in the movie, and we're like,
Yeah.
"Are we in the wrong? Is this? What do we? Where's
Yeah.
Jack?" And then he shows up, and then we say, "Oh, okay, good, we can relax now. Jack's here."
Yeah.
And then he just hijacked the movie, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And I mean, he was up against heavy hitters. He had Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper. It was like those guys weren't even there when Jack was on the screen.
And then I heard that you. So Jack's next movie, I think, was Five Easy Pieces with Susan
That's
Housebach.
right.
And I heard that you have 1 degree of separation on getting stoned with Jack Nicholson.
Well, what's funny is I was working on a book with one of the stars of Five Easy Pieces, and her son is actually the son of Jack. And one night he and I were hanging out at the house, and we ended up getting stoned. So you and I, we have that. You got stoned with Jack, and I got stoned with his son.
After COVID, we need to complete the cycle.
You know what we do? I can't even. I look forward to that, my friend. That's going to be great. Now, speaking of movie stars, you actually were somewhat of a Humphrey Bogart, should I say, impersonator, or you portrayed him a number of times. I think we may even have a photo. Look at
There
that.
it is. Oh, geez, look at it. Play it again, Sam. Look at that.
Oh my God.
That's Bob Toll on the left. We were theater majors together at Towson University.
Wow.
And one of the faculty members looked at me one day and just said, Humphrey Bogart. I've been trying to, you remind me of some, that's Humphrey Bogart. So I was looking for a project to do and decided to go ahead and play it against Sam. And it was a very fun project. We got a lot of laughs.
Wow. Yeah, I could imagine that.
Good
I could
thing too,
imagine
because
you
it was
being
a
an actor.
comedy.
You know, and strangely looking at it, I would not be able to tell you that was not Humphrey Bogart. That's an incredible likeness.
There was another faculty member that came to one of the performances, actually said this, and he didn't just say it to me in the corridor, he said it in front of a class. He said, man, I'm sitting there watching the show, and there was times where I actually forgot that I was looking at an actor. I thought I was looking at Humphrey Bogart.
Wow, that is extraordinary. Well, you really could have made a career out of that, but I'm glad you didn't, because then we wouldn't have all these great songs. One last thing I want to ask you, and then I'm going to ask you maybe to play us one more song, if you don't mind.
I'm delighted.
But one more question now. Dolly sends out this, this questionnaire, and one of the things that we discovered is you had, and I was talking to Lionel a little bit earlier about this, is that you actually had an experience also at the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah. Well,
can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Playboy Mansion. You know, it's funny. You were talking earlier about some reference to the happiest place on earth, and obviously that's Disneyland.
Yeah.
Playboy Mansion is really, I think of it as it's the happiest ending on earth. But
oh, interesting.
That's a crude joke. Never mind.
I think I got it, though. I got it.
I got booked to interview Hugh Hefner for UPI, and I went over there.
Yeah.
This was a long time ago, and I didn't have really, really good recording gear, and I just had a little portable, because I was going to write it anyway. But so I came through the gate and got parked, and there's a llama or whatever the hell over there, and there's the grotto, and I was ushered into the game room. And I was like, oh, there's the game room with all the leather-bound editions of every Playboy magazine going back to whatever, Marilyn Monroe. And I was sitting there.
Yeah.
And then, so the publicist brings Mr. Hefner in and his pajamas and robe, and he sits down, and we start to, I said, before we start the interview, I need to know something. Am I supposed to call you Mr. Hefner, or do you prefer Hugh or Hef? He goes, Hef. And I said, cool. And you can call me Nace.
Oh, that is great. Are you kidding? You said that to him?
I said that, yeah.
So you were like Hef and Nace hanging out in the...
And nobody laughed.
Oh,
but there it was.
That is hilarious.
Now, on the way back to the studio, I'm playing back because I want to hear how it went. No audio on the cassette.
Oh my God!
And I'm really bummed, and all the editors, with this, I was at the L.A. bureau, and I was doing UPI, and the Washington editors were like, wow, we want to, let's see what you got on Hefner. And I was like, oh, guys, I got to tell you.
Oh.
Well, and then the publicist called me, and he said, Mr. Hefner wants to know, did the interview run? And also, can he get a copy? Because he keeps a really complete archive of every media that he does.
Right. Oh, my God.
I said, well, Bill, technical difficulty. I let it go at that. And that was a disappointment because...
Wow.
But he did sign my copy of the book. The occasion was like the 45th anniversary, whatever it was, and there was a big coffee table book of all the playmates.
Wow.
And he signed the book, and I have that. I can prove it. I should have pulled it out and put it there, but he said something nice about me interviewing. So.
Well, that's nice, but in a sense, you missed your happy ending because you ended up basically going to the Playboy Mansion, spending the entire time with Hef. And nobody else, and then coming back with no audio. That's a great story. Now, I wonder if this ties into what I was going to ask you a little earlier about the question that Dolly asked you. Something interesting. What is your superpower? And this may be related to what just happened. You said, I can complicate a glass of water. Can you expand on that a little?
Well, Let me express it this way. I can complicate a glass of water, or I can complicate a straight line. What do you need?
Interesting.
You know, you show me an up, and I have to show you the down.
Okay.
You can't have a 1 without a 2 or an A without
Yeah.
a B, and you can't have a plus without a minus. And I see
Right.
that, and that's my superpower, is that I can see the other side.
Yes, and that's always important. So it doesn't mean you're contentious. It just means you have a very rounded approach to things.
Yeah, I'm not in a big rush to reach a conclusion.
I see. Which is probably why this interview has gone on so long. I'm not either.
Oh my goodness, is it still Monday?
I'm not sure. We might have gone to the last night of the Democratic convention. I'm not sure. But Pat, look, we better not keep your fans waiting too long. Would you mind singing us one more song and just basically taking us out before we say goodnight?
I would be delighted to do that. And I just, everybody that's tuned in and listening, I just want to say thank you so much for your kind attention, because I do understand, the gift of your time and your ear and your focus is a great gift. It's very generous, and I never take it for granted.
Thank you, Pat. And
Okay.
thank you so much for your final song. We look forward to seeing you again. We will chat again sometime soon, I hope, and I hope we get a chance to see you live with your hotshot band when
Yeah,
everything
me
gets
too.
back.
I'll close out
performing
with
live.
another song that I wrote for my honey, Kathy.
Fantastic.
And, it's called "Crazy About the Gravy." My baby loves to please me. She loves to hug and tease me. She loves to wind me up and watch me go. Always treats me right, knows just what I like. The sweetest loving baby I know. There ain't no finer loving when she fires up the oven. I know I'm gonna eat good tonight. Every day when I awaken, nothing's shaking but the bacon. I can taste her love in every single bite. She's got a way with mashed potatoes, lettuce and tomatoes, mac and cheese and biscuits and beans. I love to taste her chicken, served up with all the fixings, a side of rice and easy on the greens. But there ain't nothing quite as tasty as my sweet lover's gravy. There's a crazy kind of magic in that stuff. Crazy about my baby, crazy about the gravy. There ain't no way I'll ever get enough. She's got a way with mashed potatoes, lettuce and tomatoes, mac and cheese and biscuits and beans. I love to taste her chicken, served up with all the fixings, a side of rice and easy on the greens. But there ain't nothing quite as bitchin' as when we're in the kitchen and she's whipping up a wicked recipe. Ain't no one better looking when she starts into cooking, and there ain't no place that I would rather be. And there ain't nothing quite as tasty as my sweet lover's gravy. There's a crazy kind of magic in that stuff. Crazy about my baby, crazy about the gravy. There ain't no way I'll ever get enough. Crazy about my baby, crazy about the gravy. There ain't no way I'll ever get enough. There ain't no way I'll ever get enough. Good night, baby. I'm coming home. Actually, I am home.
What a great finish. Finish with a laugh, a song, baby, I'm coming home. Oh, I'm already home. Perhaps loving the time of the senior discount, as we spoke about before. Well, that was Pat Nason. How wonderful. And thank you so much, Pat, for chatting with us and for bringing us your music this evening, entertaining us with so many great songs. Many, many songs that Pat has written over the years. Of course, too many to share with us tonight. So if you'd like to hear more from Pat, you can visit patnasonsongs.com, or Nace as we like to call them, those who are in the know with the Playboy Mansion and Hugh Hefner. What a great story. There's a lot of information there on Pat's recording projects, his EPs and his album. And also you can find many of Pat's performances on YouTube. So do search those out. And as we've said before, all tips help support our musical artists and the hardworking team involved in putting on the show this week. So feel free to contribute if you feel the urge. But as always, we're most grateful that you took the time to be with us here this evening. We want to tell you a little bit about the upcoming shows. Next Monday, August 24th at 7 p.m., we'll be back with another episode of Songs and Sit Downs with Owen Dara. That's me, by the way. And it'll be featuring El Sompres. Now, El Sompres is such an interesting person who has actually, she's a speaker for a living, and she's actually contracted COVID some months ago, and she's what they call a long hauler, that she's actually been having symptoms for a long time. But thankfully, she's coming out of it now, and she's been living a nomadic lifestyle this last 3 years, and she's got so many interesting stories, and she's going to bring us up to speed on everything that's going on with her, on her health and also her career. So it'll be very interesting. We also have Nikki O'Neill, who's an Americana singer, guitar player and songwriter, who's deeply in love with soul music, actually born in Los Angeles and lives here right now, but she grew up in Sweden. So going to be a wonderful musical guest next week also, so that's going to be great. And then the following week, Monday, August 31st at 7 p.m., we're back with Songs and Sit Downs again. Our guests are going to be Virginia Williams, who is a fantastic actress who's currently appearing in the newly hit series called Teenage Bounty Hunters, and it is so good, and she is so good in this show, and we're just delighted that she's agreed to come talk with us. You're very much going to enjoy meeting her. She's originally from Memphis, Tennessee, and such a great person, so many great stories. And then our musical featured artist is going to be Joe Normal, who's from New Jersey, and man, he can pack some music he's got a rock band that he's really great in, and he's also got acoustic sets that he does, and you're going to very much enjoy meeting him also, I'm sure. Saturday, September 5th at 7 p.m. live, there's going to be a tribute to Emmett Rhodes, who, as many of you may know, passed away recently. He was known as the one-man Beatle, and that's going to be hosted by Terry Paul Rowland, and it's going to feature some special guests. Then Sunday, September 6th at 10 a.m., Matt Bunson is doing his 10 at 10, and he'll be doing the pop hits from 1967 to 1973. And that's the upcoming shows. So we hope that you'll join us for those. And we want to thank everybody who's involved in making this show happen tonight, making this show possible. Thank you all who tuned in. Thank you, Dolly, JJ, and Jessica. A big thank you to our special guest, Lionel Pasamonte, and of course our wonderful musical guest, Pat Nason. It was an absolute pleasure having you both on the show this evening. A shout out to both of you if you're still with us. And of course, a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. We really appreciate you joining us this evening. We look forward to seeing you again next Monday with another episode of Songs and Sit Downs. Till then, stay safe and be kind. Good night.